Hello, my name is Nina, and this is my travel and lifestyle blog, where I explore different places and do different things during my go year, as I transition from being a full-time regular worker to a student and a traveler. I encourage you to follow me during this journey as I go out of my comfort zone and really experience what life is about. We visited the pyramids of the ancient city of Teotihuacan, located 40 miles northeast of Mexico City. Teotihuacan was the name given by the Aztecs, and it means the place where the gods were created. The city consists of 2 pyramids, a temple, a palace, and a main street called the Avenue of the Dead. We arrived early in the morning. Most of the street vendors were still closed, and the air was chilly. The first thing in our agenda was climbing one of the pyramids, and we decided to climb the summit of the Pyramid of the Sun. The pyramid stands more than 200 feet with a base of more than 730 feet wide. It was definitely difficult to go up the uneven steps. Some were even eroding and looked dangerous to step on. We feel lucky that we were able to reach the top and experience an amazing view of a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's likely that in the next couple of years, the ability to go up the pyramids will end due to age and erosion. After an equally complicated descent, we made our way through the Avenue of the Dead, which runs for more than 2 miles. We headed down south to the Pyramid of the Moon, but noticed that the top half has already eroded and is closed to the public, so we decided to go to the Palace of Quetzalpapalotl. The Quetzalpapalotl Palace would have served as the residence of the elite of Teotihuacan. Its name means beautiful butterfly. Make sure to add ancient city of Teotihuacan to your travel itinerary when you visit Mexico. One of the main purposes that we visited Mexico was to take part in the tradition of Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. It is a joint celebration of All Souls and All Saints' Day, celebrated typically in predominantly Catholic countries. This tradition is celebrated throughout Mexico. In the city of Guanajuato, the main streets were filled with colorful murals created with sugar, flowers, rice, corn, and other materials. People from different age groups would gather around the city to construct amazing depictions of sugar skulls, death, and the afterlife. In the city of Tepoztlán, located about 2 hours north of Mexico City, we walked around the town square where they had an exhibition of different ofrendas, typical of the Day of the Dead tradition. Ofrendas are beautiful altars decorated with candles, flowers, fruit, chocolate, and sugar skulls, as well as the traditional pan de muerto. Pan de muerto is traditional Mexican sweet bread that is eaten during the Day of the Dead. It is usually shaped like a round loaf with rolled strips of dough layered on top that resembles the bones of the dead. It's made of flour, eggs, milk, butter, and yeast. Aside from sugar, the bread is typically flavored with anise seeds, as well as cinnamon and orange zest. In addition to the traditional loaf, the bread is also made in a variety of different shapes. The bakery Panaderia Blanquita is located in Melchor Ocampo, about an hour away from the city, where the tradition of baking pastries with all natural ingredients in a wooden oven continues after more than 100 years of service. I had the opportunity to join the bakers and try my hand at making some of the pan de muerto figures. Even though I wasn't as skilled as the bakers, I enjoyed making the bread and eating it too. Mexican cities usually revolved around the central square where the church is located. Since the Catholic religion and its religious artifacts are so central to the Mexican experience, it's inevitable to come across one of the many churches in the surrounding area. We visited around 6 different churches in Mexico. In the city of Melchor Ocampo, their church is dedicated to Saint Michael or San Miguel. This church was constructed out of black volcanic rock native in this part of Mexico. Other churches we visited were the Church of San Francisco Javier in Tepoztlan, Templo de Cata, and Templo de San Cayetano in Guanajuato. I just wanted to say that the inside of the Temple of San Cayetano is completely gold. The story behind it being that this gentleman bought out this mine that supposedly was barren. He prayed to the Lord and to the saints, saying that if he struck gold, he would build a church right on the site. This person became very rich and created the church standing now. Of course, the most known church in San Miguel de Allende is Parroquia de San Miguel Arcangel, whose dramatic pink towers rise above the main plaza. There are countless churches and cathedrals throughout Mexico, all with their own unique story and incredible facade. For me, Guanajuato was one of my favorite destinations during my trip to Mexico. Guanajuato, the capital of Guanajuato State, is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a charming colonial-era city. The city of Guanajuato offers a vast array of activities for tourists. From the moment that you arrive, you feel like you have gone back in time. Its beautiful streets, buildings, underground tunnels, and landscapes create an atmosphere of significance in the history of Mexico. Upon our arrival, we visited one of the most important museums in the city, the Fort of Alhóndiga de Granaditas. History has it that a miner nicknamed El Pipila tied a stone slab to his back to cover himself from the incoming bullets and walked all the way to set the entrance ablaze. El Pipila became a symbol for the Mexican independence, and his statue stands high above Guanajuato, overseeing the city. At night, one of the things that people do is take part of Las Callejonadas, or an alley walkthrough led by a group of musicians and singers. Once a good-sized crowd has gathered, the whole mob snakes through the winding alleyways of the city to the sounds of singing and playing. Between songs, they tell stories and jokes to entertain the crowd. The next day, we visited the famous museum of Las Momias de Guanajuato, the mummies of Guanajuato. Not only was this part of my bucket list, but visiting this attraction during the month of November, which commemorates the dead, was perfect and is an example of Mexico's acceptance and obsession with death. After visiting the museum, we went up to the Bocamina San Ramon. We went in on one of the mine shafts, which had a depth of 60 meters below ground. And while we were only scratching the surface, the pressure, claustrophobic atmosphere, and humidity is definitely not for the faint of heart. Multiple minerals, as well as silver, were harvested in these mines and continue to provide precious metals to the city of Guanajuato. Our next stop was the ex Hacienda del Cochero, a museum filled with machines and devices used to torture individuals during the time of the Inquisition. Upon our arrival, a guy dressed in monk robes greeted us. He gave us a brief history on the place and told us how this estate was the main place for punishment about 200 years ago. He brought us down to the underground dungeon where all the torturing devices were kept. Iron maidens, chastity belts, guillotines, and hanging cages were among this exhibition. As we started heading for the last stop in our agenda, our tour guide made a quick stop in one of the nearby candy stores. They had all sorts of traditional candies made out of goat's milk, obleas made of the same bread used in communions within the Roman Catholic faith, and chocolate. They also had different liquors made from ingredients indigenous to the area, such as nopal, rompope, maguey, and membrillo, or quince fruit to name a few. The last stop of the day was to the monument of Pipila, which coincidentally is also one of the highest elevations in the city, and gave us an awesome view of Guanajuato below. On our way back to Mexico City, we made a quick stop in another major city in Guanajuato, San Miguel de Allende. Just like Guanajuato, San Miguel de Allende is a colonial-era city, and its historic center is filled with well-preserved buildings from the 17th and 18th century. The city is also known for its Baroque Spanish architecture, including the many different churches located in this fascinating city. Of course, the most known church is Parroquia de San Miguel Arcangel, whose dramatic pink towers rise above the main plaza. Around the main plaza were street vendors selling exotic flavored ice cream, two of which we tried out. One of them is tuna ice cream. Not the fish, it's a fruit that grows off the cactus plant. And zapote flavored ice cream, another fruit indigenous to the country. Mexico offers many wonderful vacationing spots from coast to coast, all filled with amazing history, incredible architecture, breathtaking sceneries, and delicious cuisine. The trip was truly enchanting, and we have only scratched the surface. I'd love to keep coming back and learn more about Mexico's culture and the wonderful people who live in this country.